Hello, it's Unit 1, Video 4, and this is Miss Moran. We're going to work with absolute value and using your graphing calculator. How far is the value from normal? Here we are going to define absolute value. So I'm going to talk quite a bit about the left-hand column, and then I'm going to go ahead and write in the other column because we're going to represent this in algebra. So how far is a value from the normal? What we're looking for, what we want it to be. What is the distance from normal? Distance is exactly what absolute value is, the distance from zero. In this case, we're looking from the distance from a set number. So I'm going to give you an example. Hopefully you can relate. So on the potato chip factory line, the volume of bags of chips is set to 20 ounces. The production manager says that the bags must be 20 ounces plus or take half an ounce. I'm sure you've heard of a give or take value. Give or take this much. You know, everything's okay, give or take. So what value is acceptable? So the normal is 20 ounces. That's what we would like. If a random check is done, the bag's accuracy of the production line can be measured by seeing how far the volume of a bag is chosen at random from normal. So production manager goes and he tests a bag and he goes, oh, how far is this one from 20 ounces? And if it is within that 0.5 ounces, then we know we've got an accurate machine filling these bags with potato chips. So how is that written? Well, if we were to say in algebra that we have the test value that we've got, the distance is done by subtraction. You find the distance from something by subtracting the two values from each other. So it's the absolute value of x minus n, where x is the tester and n is your normal, what you desire. So here we would say we have a random bag of chips minus 20 ounces. And this would tell us our absolute value if we were within that range. Right now, go ahead and pause the video and grab your textbook, and please look on page 19 and read example 4 about blood pressure. Okay, so it says the systolic blood pressure is the maximum pressure produced by each heartbeat. So the test here is therefore healthcare professionals are interested in a patient's pressure difference from normal. So they measure this value, the pressure difference, as the absolute value of the patient's blood pressure at that time minus the normal, which is 120. So this is what we have for our algebraic representation of a patient's blood pressure. And we could test to see if that difference is acceptable and safe for the patient. Alright, so you've got your graphing calculator in front of you, and I'm going to show you a few buttons. You learned a few with Mrs. Eggerding on the last video, so I'm going to use a few of those as well. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Math, and we're going to arrow over to Number to the right, and you get ABS. Now you can press 1 or you can press Enter at the bottom here. 1 will just select option 1 and Enter will also select option 1. But the idea of using the number pad is you wouldn't have to scroll down if you knew which option you wanted. So I'm going to press Enter and I get this absolute value. Now on paper your absolute value symbols are bars, but on the graphing calculators our absolute value is represented by just a quantity that will be in parentheses. So I want the absolute value of negative, so I'm going to use negative 6, and you do not have to close your parentheses if this is all I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and close them anyways and hit Enter, and I know the absolute value of negative 6 is positive 6. Okay, so we're going to go back into Math, arrow over to Number, select 1 or Enter, and this time I'm going to do a subtraction. I'm going to do 10 minus 32. So this is the absolute value of 10 minus 32. I get 22, a positive 22, because it took the absolute value of that difference. So this time I'm going to do I'm going to multiply. So I would like 5 times the absolute value. So I'm going to go back into math, over to number, select absolute value, negative 3. So this is 5 times the absolute value. It's not necessary to use the multiplication symbol, but you can if you'd like. Again, this time I'm going to show you I do not have to close the parentheses. And I get 15 because it's 5 times the absolute value of negative 3, or 15. And the last thing I'm going to show you before I give you 2 examples to try on your own is that I can do a combination of absolute values. So I can do the absolute value, go over to math, number, select number 1. I'm going to put in an 8, close my parentheses. I'm going to subtract math, over to number, select absolute value, negative 5. So I right now have the expression the absolute value of 8 minus the absolute value of negative 5. I'm going to press enter and I get 3. Okay. If you'd like to recall that, so I'm going to hit second, enter, and I can go ahead and change this to a negative 9. So now I have the absolute value of 8 minus the absolute value of negative 9. And I have negative 1. So you're going to use the absolute value function here in the calculator, this feature we've got under math, number, and you're going to try the next 2 problems. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and use what I just showed you, and we're going to try to evaluate some of these. So we're going to let x equal negative 6 and y equal 10. Here's the first one, the absolute value of 2x minus 3y. Go ahead and pause the video, give it a shot in your calculator, and then unpause the video. And your answer should be 42. Let's try another one. This is 2 times the absolute value of x minus the absolute value of 3y, all divided by the absolute value of x times y. And you should have negative 0.15. Here's your assignment, and we'll talk about those in class tomorrow.